Welcome to my channel. Today we're looking into the disappearance of Alice Kristina Wehr Hummel. She went missing in 1990. She was 46 years old. Who knows how much she weighed? It says she was 5'7". Basically it says that, and you can pause it and read it. I might scroll through some different areas that have different information that you could pause it and read it. Basically, it says that her child told her that her husband had been molesting her since she was a toddler. So her mother was going to take care of it, but instead the father took care of the mother and got rid of her and told the children that she had moved away. So then for years he collected her money that she was getting. So that because she had gotten lupus and she had been a teacher and she was getting, let's see how much it was. It says $276,000 in benefits total, but I think it was over $1,000 a month. Let's see. They had teaching jobs. The 12-year-old daughter told her mother that he had been sexually abusing her. A few days later, she came home and her mother was gone. Her mother's purse and all her belongings were still there. Let's see. Bruce told him she had moved away. So he later married and moved to Bellingham, Montana, and they had to go hunt for him in different campsites. $1,500 a month in disability payments. He kept filling out the forms and signing the checks. So he said that she had left. Then he said that she committed suicide and that he had put the corpse on a raft that he had constructed. He had built a raft, he put the corpse on it and towed it to the Bellingham Bay. And so the raft capsized and the corpse fell overboard, weighted with a rock and held down to the raft by a rope, and he was unable to get it back because the wind was too bad. But they found out the wind wasn't even blowing that night. So, and then you can go and find this here, State versus Hummel. It's on the internet, but you know how the internet is. Sometimes it's there, and then one day it's there, and the next day you can't find it. So I'm going to scroll through it so you can pause this and read it, because it has some interesting reading as well. Whoops, hold on. I don't know if that... So she taught school in Alaska. She suffered from lupus. In June 1986, she decided to stop teaching in Alaska. Or Hummel did. That would be her husband. Let's see. And he also collected cedar and pine cones to sell. Then it talks about the ballet lessons in 1990 and the sexual abuse and the mother disappearing and him giving them gifts saying they were from the mother, but they were not from the mother, because he was trying to say that the mother was still alive. So, and the children are SC and SK, and there's another, and SH. So they filed a missing persons report eventually. And it talks about that. They scheduled an interview with him about deposits, disability checks, and withdrawals, and he admitted to getting the disability payments. He admitted that he had been sexually abusing the child, but he wouldn't admit to the murder. So, and he was released because they would file things to get out, and so he got out. It's really sad. So they charged him with, since there was no evidence of premeditation on the murder, he got out. Or somebody didn't feel there was. But I feel there was because I think he gave her a bunch of pills and poisoned her with pills and killed her with pills. There it is right here. Cargill shared a jail cell with Hummel in the Whatcom County Jail. He testified that Hummel told him that he had helped his wife Alice get to a better place by mixing a handful of ground up pills and apple cider and giving it to Alice to drink. He helped her get to a better place. He murdered her because he didn't want to get caught for molesting his child. To me, that's premeditation. So, yeah. But then he ended up getting out. And he continued to molest his child. It's really sad. And they called, the children had to go in for witnesses. So it's really sad. He molested her beginning when she was 3 years old. 3 years old. That's really tragic. I'm guessing he must have gone through her computer or something and saw, or maybe she confronted him. It's really sad. So this is really long, but because it's interesting enough, I'm going to go ahead and scroll through it because I think it will be hard to find on here later. Because sometimes I find stuff on the internet and then I go look for it and then it's gone. And he talks about the wind and rowing her out. The detectives getting a search warrant. They couldn't find any trace of the blood. Because there was no blood because he poisoned her. Then they compared the signatures on the cards. It's really sad. So, and this isn't the only page, but it says, what would you expect to see in the Bellingham Bay with the highest wind speed we had? I believe you indicated was 5 knots. What would you expect to see on the bay at that point? Just ripples in the water, small wavelets. So they're proving that he wasn't even being honest about the raft in the water. But I don't know. I wish somebody would go see if that's what he did with her body. I don't know if that's what he did with her body, but why not look to see if there's a body there? So, yeah. Defense counsel argued that even if there were evidence of motive, it did not prove premeditation. So then they talk about it. Then they say it's circumstantial evidence. But, he killed her. I don't see, in my opinion, he killed her. And in my opinion, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's my opinion, and that's what I believe. I don't know what you believe, but, because I know years ago, I worked at a casino, and one of the girls that I worked with, she had a boyfriend, and she worked on a different shift, but sometimes she would work on the same shift as us, and she had a child, and she was living with her boyfriend, and she caught her boyfriend molesting her child. So she was pressing charges against him, and she was taking him to court, but she still lived with him. She didn't have any place to go. And she went out with her coworkers on the other shift. And she had been drinking heavily, and she didn't want to go home. She was afraid to go home. And they took her, and she was so drunk she was passed out. And they drove her and took her to her home, drunk and passed out anyway, even though she was afraid. And that was the last time anybody ever seen her alive. And then they found her body in the middle of the desert. And it had been out there for a while, I think like a month or so or more. And the desert's so hot and everything, so. And they couldn't prove whether he killed her or not. I don't think they could prove that he killed her at all. So I don't think anything ever happened to him. I think he tried to say that she got up and left. And it was because he didn't want to go to court, I'm sure, over the child molesting. So I don't, because she caught him and she would have testified against him, and now she's dead. I don't know if he ever got convicted of child molesting or not. And I think not only, I'm pretty sure he might have gotten away with not only molesting a child, but with murder, so. And here's some more on Alice. Amateur stars in real life whodunit. So this is in the LA Times, talking about Westport, Washington. The amateur theater group here had been dormant for a few years when Peggy Coverdale decided to revive it with a dinner theater mystery, she wrote. Who knows, she'd tell her prospective audience members, you might sit right next to a murderer. I use that line over and over again, she recalls. Isn't it awful, now that I look back on it? It turns out that the man she cast as the killer has long been under police investigation. His wife vanished in 1990, and for more than a decade, he lied about what had happened to her. Now the real-life whodunit awaits a final act. So then this talks about that. And it's really interesting, but if I read it, I'll be reading forever. But I wanted you to have it. Talks about in a holiday pageant for which he volunteered, he sang a cute little song with a rag doll on his knee. It was his entree into Westport's acting group. She said he had found work as a maintenance man in Westport's low-income housing units. Is this her husband? I think it is. Not everyone was so taken with him. Hummel frequently showed up at high school girls' basketball games where he would berate the referees from the stands. The athletic director, Barb Rasmus, finally made him a scorekeeper in hopes he would stay quiet to no avail. One of them says he was just a great guy, said an older team who recalled that Hummel sometimes spoke lovingly but vaguely of a wife he had had somewhere. Wow. It's really sad because people talk about him like he was this great guy. And that's the thing, people like this, you might meet them and they might seem so sweet and so wonderful to some people. And even though they're so kind and they seem like such good people to some people, to others, see, it says he had a very hot temper. So some people might think they're just these wonderful people, and other people not so much. I can't get this page to scroll right. I think it's all the ads. It's really crazy. It's really sad. He kills her and then he keeps getting her money for years. And he wouldn't, and he never told them what he did with her body. Unless, I don't know if there's any partial truth in it. So he poisoned her, and who knows what he did. Yeah, the detectives didn't believe a word of what he was saying, so if they didn't believe a word of it, he probably wasn't telling the truth. It's really sad. Peggy met Hummel when he responded to a newspaper ad for the Christmas pageant. He attended meetings of the theater group. Wow. Says he seemed like a mild-mannered, pleasant, helpful type of person, she said. I thought, oh, he'll fit that job very nicely. Hummel accepted. He confessed to the dinner-goers that he had killed a man who was planning to run off with his character's wife. I got my revenge. Tell that to the sheriff. I can't get it to scroll down. Because of the ads. Thank goodness. And then it has this. You can find this on the internet too, and you can download and save this as a PDF on your computer if you want to. So this is Court of Appeals of the State of Washington, October 30th, 2015. So it talks about looking at the direct and circumstantial evidence in the light most favorable to the state. There is sufficient evidence to support Hummel's conviction for premeditated first-degree murder. There is sufficient evidence in the record to support the jury's finding that Hummel committed the acts of premeditated murder in the state of Washington. Hummel failed to demonstrate that there was any affirmative evidence in the record to support instructing the jury on a manslaughter theory that he recklessly or negligently caused Alice's death. Hummel made a reasonable tactical decision. So you can read this one as well. And I'm going to scroll down. This one will be easier for me to just scroll, I think. Maybe not so much. So, like I said, you can find this online, but if you want to skim through it and read it, because it's really interesting, and hopefully you can still find it online, then I will just go down so you can pause it and read it. It's crazy. It's just amazing. You know, you meet people and you think, oh, they seem like so nice and so helpful, but sometimes it's the people that seem so nice and so helpful that are the worst ones, you know, especially if you're a single mom and they're right there saying, oh, don't worry, I'll give your children a ride to school, you know, if you get up late or something. Oh, do you need a babysitter? Oh, I'll babysit for you, you know, things like that. Oh, how can I help you with your children today, you know? Do you need to run somewhere? I will watch your children for you so you can run to the store, you know, something. They just seem like they're so sweet and so nice and so helpful, and you think, oh, what a nice person, right? But then they're not. They're not a nice person. They just seem like they're nice and helpful because people who want to do something bad and get away with it, they're not going to seem like they want to do something bad because otherwise, how could they do it and get away with it? So you got to be careful. I remember when I lived in a big city, there was somebody going around pretending to be a repairman. I can't remember if it was for gas or water, but they would try to get entry into people's houses, and they would dress up and act like they were some kind of a repairman and something was wrong, so that women would let them into their houses or their apartments so that they could commit crimes against them. And that way they could trick people. And that's what criminals do. They try to trick you into thinking they're not going to hurt you and that they're a good person, and they try to gain your trust. so that they can get away with whatever they're planning on getting away with. So, and that's horrible, because when you trust somebody and it hurts you a lot, and then how can you ever trust somebody again? It's really hard to trust somebody after that. So, it's really sad. You've got the one serial killer that would act like he had a broken arm or he had crutches. Who was that? Ted Bundy? So that he needed help. He was dropping things and couldn't carry him because he had to hold his crutches. So people would run to help him, and then he would kill them, which is really sad. College students. And then you have people trying to find, you have people going to bars where women have been drinking to try to take advantage of them or get them, and they kill them because they are easy marks, easy targets, easy prey. Because it's harder for them to defend themselves if they are inebriated. So, it's really sad. But like I said, you can pause this and read this, because if I read all of this, I will be reading forever, and the video would be so long. But if you want the information, then the information's here for you. But that's so sad that their children grew up without their mother and grew up with this man that was a child molester, and just, I don't know for how many years, but it just so sick and so sad that this happened. And the mother thought she could stop him and she could do something about it. And who knows, maybe he talked really nice to her while he was poisoning her. And she thought that she had found the solution. And meanwhile, he's found a way to kill her. I just can't even believe that. It's such a bummer. Anyway, I just can't even believe that. It's shocking. And he was able to get out of prison. You'd think he would spend all of his whole life in prison, but nope. It's funny, isn't it? You think that, well, not funny, but it's crazy, because you think that the good guy will win and the bad guy will not win, but it doesn't work that way. The bad guy is so convincing that people believe them and listen to them all the time. It's funny that how people will believe a liar, but they won't believe the truth. It's crazy. It's just crazy how that works that way. It's shocking. It's shocking how people can lie over and over for years, and people will believe them. But an honest person, they won't believe them. So here's a Jane Doe unidentified female, because I did a name search, and this one was found in Wilkinson, Washington, in 1997, ages 30 to 50 years old. And I don't know if this could be her or not, but it's only 5'5", but it's estimated. Died between 1986 and 1987, and this could be almost anybody. But somebody walking through the woods found some skeletal remains. And this just came up in the name of search, so I thought, well, I'll include it. And yeah, 4.5 size shoes. I don't think this is going to be her. If she's 5'7", she's not going to wear a size 4.5 shoe. And I don't know if that's actually the shoe that goes with that body, because I don't even think a 5'5" person is going to wear in a 4.5 shoe. I think that would have to be somebody that's more like maybe 5 foot tall at the most, or 5'1" at the most. And then we have this one, and this is one in Carnation, Washington, 18 to 50 years old. And I didn't go through them by hand and look through all of them to see. But I looked in Canada. This is a 20-year span, and it says 1970 to 1990, pre-50 for the age. So I don't know what he would have done with her body or where it could be. Somebody found a partial skull in a horse pasture. So, I mean, this could be her, but I don't know. But those were the two that I found when I did a nameless search trying to find her. I didn't put hardly any details in. I think I put 2 details in. I think I just put the years. I put her age and the years, I think. But I didn't. And I only came back with 2 people, so I don't know. Maybe you can look and find some more, somebody that it might be. But I just think that's so sad and so sick that he was able to do this. It's horrific. Anyway, don't forget to pray for her family and her loved ones. And it's so sad what these people went through. You know, and she thought she could just confront him and take care of the situation. And she shouldn't, you know. You just don't. I guess she didn't think that he would kill her. Isn't it crazy? Maybe she thought she had the money to pay the bills and she would just kick him out and he would just leave willingly. Or she could just threaten him, but obviously she didn't expect him to kill her. It's really sad. Anyway, don't forget to pray for her and her family, and thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to leave comments. Have a great day. Bye-bye.